Do you ever hear one of those stories where you're not sure whether to laugh or cry or be angry or be embarrassed? Here's one of those stories. I'm not sure how to handle it. I'm Joe Puckett. Thanks for joining me. Let's talk about this Cleveland church. We talked about them about a week ago, and they're back in the news again for their second gun violence incident uh, in a week. So let's talk about this real quick. It's we talked about it last Sunday, August 6th. Sanctuary Baptist Church, Cleveland, Ohio. Here's the highlights. And basically, we talked about them, so I'm not going to run through them. I do have a lesson, by the way. I do have something I want to talk about. I see a couple of lessons here for us as church security people, and I hope you'll stick with me for this. So they're basically on the 6th, Sunday the 6th, 11:52 a.m. Shot spotter alert system. Here's gunshots in the area of this church. Police arrive. It doesn't seem like anybody's flagging them down or wants to talk to them. They finally find a gunshot victim down the street, and uh, they talk to him a little bit. They try to talk to what they say was 30 or 40 people in the parking lot, and they won't talk to the police. So then they go and, they're talking to the gunshot victim. Here's some pictures from last week. Here's the inside of the church where that incident occurred at that back pew there. There's a back door. And then there's the front of the church. I'm assuming that's the front of the church with the big sign and stuff there. I don't know this church. I don't know these folks involved. So anyway, the situation last Sunday, the 6th, goes on to say, the police are called, gunshot victim sat where he was not welcomed, apparently in the back of the church. Then he moved. He was asked by an usher to move. He sat on the usher's hat. During the course of this, he's getting tossed out of the church. The gunshot victim may have stabbed someone, and someone, maybe the usher, was assaulted. And we never really know who was the gun shooter, the suspect. We never really know that because it's never really talked about. It seems like the main aggressive one was the usher. And then we have somebody that's been victimized by gunshots, and the usher says he was assaulted. Pastor says they know nothing last week. The cameras don't work, according to him. But then other pastors tell the police, yeah, some of the cameras work. And the pastor also is telling the media that he doesn't know who involved. It's just gun violence that came to his church. He doesn't know anything. Now, I'm being a little bit funny here. I'm not smiling, but I'm being a little bit funny because this is just an odd situation. It's kind of embarrassing as church leadership or church security. We should be embarrassed by this a little bit. It's ridiculous. And then we go into seeing that this week now, the 13th, 1 week later, same church. And here's what we're told. We end up with more gun violence the next week at their church, and it's supposedly different people involved. The pastor says that they're renting space at this church building from another church, and he has a rental agreement. He pays money for this to use the space for their church. So they're apparently kind of late leaving. That's what the word is. And they're leaving at 5 p.m. And the guy that works for the other church, apparently, that owns the building, is locking up, and they're moving slow, and he starts getting upset. They get out in the parking lot. He wants them gone, and he ends up pulling a gun and pointing it at some of the guests. And there's, according to the pastor, there's women and children in this group that he's pointing the gun at. And he calls the police, and it sounds like he wasn't satisfied. He didn't get much of a response from them. They're not really telling him anything, or he's not interested. I don't know. I really don't know about this situation. It's just extremely bizarre, and it still continues to be bizarre. So what are our lessons learned? I'm making this short and sweet. It's funny, it's sad, it's embarrassing, it's all of these things as church security team members. What do I want to talk about, though, from this? I still say the lessons we talked about from last week. We need a relationship with local law enforcement. We need to work on being honest with them, upfront, cooperative. I don't know what the relationship is in Cleveland. I don't know what the police department's like. I know that some police departments have bad blood with their community, and they're not trusted by their community. I do not know what the case is in Cleveland. But being from a church, being from a security team, I would certainly want to strive to uh, build up a relationship with law enforcement. It would be extremely important to me. So we're cooperative with them when something happens, working ahead of time, working after, whatever I can do to build a relationship. I think the second lesson that we learned from last week, we should consider a spokesperson. And I talked about that so that we have somebody there that's talking with the press, that's not afraid of liabilities and conflicts and what the public's going to perceive, somebody that knows professionally and has had a little bit of training on being a public information officer, if you will, or a press person, or whatever you want to look at. Now, I think we're learning even more here that I want to talk about, even bigger, is and this may be the pastor in this case, but I want to impress upon you and I that we need to be leaders and we need to be professional. It's very important. So this shows us that this is stories going all over the US and maybe going all over the world. I have no clue. And the pastor's name, the church's name, and it doesn't look good in this community. They're starting to look like a joke. Besides, some people may perceive them as a dangerous place. I think that's a good perception, but they also may be perceived as a joke. And so, I'm not here to judge them. I'm not judging them. If you're listening and you go to that church, one of those two churches, no judgment here. But I'm using it as a lesson because I think it's an important lesson for us to learn from watching this behavior. And the other thing is, I want to say, whether you're the security team member, security team leader, or you're a church leader, when it comes to security, violence issues, those kind of things, don't forget, besides professionalism, we need to be a light in the community. And that's our church community, that's our neighbors, that's our city, that's wherever that is. We need to be a light. We need to be professionals. We need to be leaders, and we need to be a light in those communities as far as I'm concerned. And so I just want to encourage you that you can laugh at this. I'll probably laugh some later. We can be embarrassed by it. We can be a little bit angry by this bad behavior that these folks are giving the rest of us, a bad reputation, maybe. I don't know. Somebody may perceive this as the way churches handle things. I don't know. But realistically, we can learn some lessons from this. And I hope that we can, and that you'll look at this a little bit more. And I hope that you'll like and subscribe. Please join us on this page, on this YouTube channel. And also take a look at the comments. We've got lots of training opportunities for you, lots of things going on, forms, digital forms, documents to help make your training program or your security program a lot more professional for your church. There's all kinds of stuff there. And then, hey, take a look at this video popping up as it's the next one that YouTube and I believe that you should maybe take a look at and continue watching with us. Join our community.